Hello and welcome again. This is part of our networking series. In this lesson, we're going to go through Inter-VLAN routing. I'm going to explain what that means. Let's say you're working for a company, or maybe you're building a network. And in that network, let's take 2 examples or 3 examples. You have one network for your staff. Let's say they are here. And this is one area of a building, maybe a floor 1. And then across the building, maybe you have a building of 3 or 4 floors, and it has CCTVs across the building. And that CCTV, you create a network called CCTV VLAN, and we call it VLAN 10. The staff is in VLAN 20. But then staff which are in floor 1, some of them are also in another floor, let's say floor 2. So the staff is also here. They are separated physically, but also there are CCTVs in that area where the staff is. So you have 2 different VLANs in the same floor. This is across the whole building, maybe in one specific area. And the staff needs services. So those services are running on servers, and your servers can be on an external server in a data center, or maybe a comms room in your building. So here is the data center. That data center, local one, or maybe co-located in another data center, or maybe a public cloud. So you want your staff to be able to access the service from here. So you go through this switch, but then you have to go through another switch to connect you to a router that connects you to the data center, comes down to here, and then you can access the services from this server, for example. Or you want somebody who is working in the staff VLAN to be able to see what's happening across the building using the CCTV network. Maybe that staff is a CCTV, is a security guard. So we want to learn how to route between different networks, 20.1.1, 10.1.1, physically located in the same place or different rooms or separated. How do we do that? So here we're going to introduce the Inter-VLAN routing. First of all, this is across the building, and this is one area of the building, and this is another floor of the building. How do we interconnect those? We need to create networking between them. So these are called access switches, and the ones that connect those access switches are called distributed or distribution layer switches. That's the traditional 3-tier networking infrastructure build. So if we want to connect the switches, we need to use crossover cable, and the crossover cable, let's connect fast Ethernet 01 to fast Ethernet 01. I did the wrong one. So if you make a mistake, just use the cut there and then go back to the mouse and then connect again. Fast Ethernet 01, connect to 01. And then 02, I'm using crossover cable. 02, let's connect this one, 01 of that, and 02 to here. Then that side also we need to connect with that floor. So let's say it is fast Ethernet 01 to fast Ethernet 03. So let's see, from here we have the first interface, and then the first interface from there, then the first interface from this one connecting to a second interface, and the third. You see the first 3 interfaces of this switch are all connecting networks from different floors. It's not one it's not one access layer connectivity, but it's actually an uplink between a local LAN switch to a distribution switch. So we will create a connectivity between the switches that's called trunk. Trunk is like a highway where all traffic goes through, but access is like one access route. We have 1 or 2 VLANs only, voice and data, maximum 2. So now we have that interconnectivity, but we don't have the VLANs. What we can do is, from the distribution, we can create the VLANs and distribute to across all the switches. That's called VLAN trunking protocol. Or we can actually configure the VLANs as per required. Here we have only VLAN 10, here only VLAN 20, and then create that interface to be a trunk. So let's do some configurations. In this switch, I will choose the first interface to be a trunk, connecting me to that. And then starting from number 2 all the way to 10, I'm going to use it for VLAN 10. So how do we do that? Let's go to that switch. And in this switch, in the command line, So if we make it a little bit less so you can see the window better, let's go to enable mode and then config mode, and then let's name this is switch 1. So host name switch 1, and then let's choose the interfaces. I want to show you, show run. If you see the interfaces, they already numbered. You have the numbers, but there's no configuration with them. I want to make that one a trunk, and if I put the command show interfaces trunk, if I do that, it shows nothing. We haven't configured anything. Even when you configure, if you don't connect or the interface is down, it will still not show anything. So how do we do that? We go to the configuration mode, and then we go interface fast Ethernet 0/1, and then we say switch port mode trunk. In some switches you have to choose what trunk mode you have to use. There are different types. In this version it doesn't need anything. So if I end and then say show run, you see the first interface fast Ethernet 0/1, it has now an added configuration, which is a trunk. But I need number 2 all the way to 10 to have VLAN 10. And then that VLAN 10 is not configured yet, and we need to create that as well. Go to the configuration mode and then say VLAN 10, and then name it, name CCTV, and then exit. Now if I exit and then save, and then if I show you again the interface, you see we only have the trunk, but these are not in VLAN 10, even though VLAN 10 is created. So what I'm going to do is go to the configuration mode again and say interface range. We're taking a range from fast Ethernet 0/2. Remember, 1 we configured it as a trunk, all the way to 10. We want to all the way to 10. 10. We want to create them switchboard mode access, and the first one was trunk. And when we create access, what VLAN are we assigning to that access port? It's VLAN 10. So we have to say switchboard access VLAN 10. VLAN 10. Now if we go back to the configuration and let's save it and say show run, now you can see the first one is a trunk, but number 2 is assigned to VLAN 10, and then this is assigned to VLAN 10. So if we bring a computer or a PC or any device and we connect to an interface starting from 2 all the way to 10, they will be part of VLAN 10. So we need to understand that assignment as an access and the uplink as a trunk. We have done that one. Let's do the other switch and do VLAN 20 for interfaces starting from 2 to 10, and the first one as a trunk. We do the same. First of all, we configure that as let's go to the command line, make this window a little bit bigger, and then if we go to enable mode and configure the host name first, and we call it switch 2. That's switch 2, I think, yes. And then we go to the interface range fast Ethernet 0/2. We're starting with the access /2 up to 10. Switchboard mode access, and then switchboard access VLAN. Now remember that VLAN was 20, and that's not exist. It will create. So it created already, but it doesn't have a name, and we have to name it. And let's exit this one and say interface fast Ethernet 0/1. That's the trunk one. Switchboard mode trunk. And now let's exit the interface and go to VLAN 20, and let's we call it stuff. And if we end now and save and say show run, you will see the first interface is a trunk, and starting from 2 all the way to 10, it is access mode, and they're assigned to VLAN 20. So you see VLAN 20 assigned here, but that's the last one we're going to do. And if we do that one, let's do the same configuration. Again, the CLI, enable, and let's make this window a little bit smaller. So if you go to config terminal, host name, switch 3, so this is switch 4, switch dash 4, and then the first interface is a trunk interface, fast Ethernet 0/1 switchboard mode trunk, and then from 2 example, let's say 11 is VLAN 20, but 2 to 10 we're going to assign to VLAN 10. Starting from 11 all the way to 20, I'm going to assign to VLAN 20. So this switch is different. It's hosting 2 different VLANs in which is different from what we have configured so far. So let's say it's interface range. We are in the interface range. Interface, let's say exit first. Interface range fast Ethernet 0/2 all the way to 10. Switchboard mode access, and then switchboard access we assign to VLAN 10 and VLAN 10. Then from 11, let's exit this one. I can use the up arrow, and if it says starting from 11 all the way to 20, we are in a different range now, and we call it switchboard mode access, and then we call it switchboard access VLAN 20. That's now assigned. Okay, so the 2 VLANs are now created. So if I exit and check the VLAN names, VLAN brief, show VLAN brief. So you see it doesn't have a name, but the VLANs are created. So let me go to the config mode. And VLAN 10, we call it stuff, name stuff, and then exit VLAN 20, we call it name, that was VLAN 10, actually CCTV, sorry, let's exit that, exit VLAN 10, name CCTV, and then VLAN 20 name stuff. So if I exit and save that, now if I say show VLAN brief, now you can see the VLANs are named accordingly and they're assigned to the interfaces accordingly. So and VLAN 10 is between 0/2 all the way to 10, and from 11 all the way to 20 is for VLAN 20. But the trunk port also, we need to make sure that's configured. So if we see show interfaces trunk, okay, so fast Ethernet 0/1, it's statically configured using IDO2.1q, and it's carrying all the VLANs. If you want to only remove, or if you want to remove the VLANs you don't want, then you create pruning. But at the moment it's carrying everything what we need, VLAN 10 and 20, and also the default VLAN. So now we have all the VLANs, and we can see the IP addresses now. If assigned to these PCs, they will be able to communicate across. So in part 2, I will create the IP addressing in the switch on the devices themselves, and then see if we can actually achieve that communication. Even though they're physically separated, can we achieve that communication between them? See you in part 2. Thank you for your time.